Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Georgetown Waterfront Park Labyrinth. My name is Denise McHugh, and I'm really so happy to be able to introduce you to the Labyrinth today. I do not work with the National Park Service, who helps to coordinate this labyrinth. I work at University of Maryland, but both University of Maryland and National Park Service and the Friends of Georgetown Park are all connected to the Nature Sacred Foundation that helps support our labyrinth programming. So I'm really happy to represent the Waterfront Park today. What is a labyrinth? There's just a lot of questions about that, a lot of mystery about what labyrinths are. You know, is this just a workout area? Is it a place where folks can just run? We know children love labyrinths, but there's a lot of mystery about labyrinths that really goes back thousands of years. The very first labyrinths were found on ground, on earth. They also were found on early coins, on the walls of caves. Although folks initially did not know exactly, scholars looking back did not know all the reasons and what these labyrinths are. Others have studied this for a long time to try to make sense of what a labyrinth is. A labyrinth could be in very early times and even today really connected to seeking good fortune by walking a labyrinth, to feeling empowered by walking a labyrinth, to keeping away bad spirits or encouraging good spirits. Those early labyrinths had those real connections. And there are labyrinths actually, but most of all, a labyrinth is a journey inward. However you do it, it's a journey inward, and it's a meditative experience. What is wonderful about labyrinths is that it is just a one route in and one route out. So unlike the rest of our lives that can be so complicated, we know just having that simplicity of walking a labyrinth is really wonderful. Now, what are some different kinds of labyrinths? There are different forms of labyrinths. I'm going to share a few with you. There is a classical form of labyrinth, which goes back, it's our very first type of labyrinth. So it may be a little hard to see at your distance, but there are 7 different circuits for this labyrinth, 8 walls, and this is a labyrinth that you might see in earliest times on those caves, on those coins, and so forth. Then when we move to the Holy Roman Empire, and all those great lands associated with that, we actually have Roman-style labyrinths. And so here's our Roman form of labyrinth. These labyrinths are both meandering and serpentine. Then there's also medieval labyrinths. And these labyrinths, of course, are associated with the medieval age. They have more circuits. Getting another image out here. They have more circuits and are a little bit more complex, but still have one way in and one way out. You may all recognize or know of the beautiful labyrinth at Chartres in France, and that is a very early labyrinth that folks used instead of walking to the Holy Land. Instead of making a pilgrimage to the Holy Land, they would walk that labyrinth, and it's still in use today. Then wonderfully, there also are many contemporary labyrinths that are done in really artistic styles. And I have an example of one here, or 2 here actually. An artist on the top has done a labyrinth that was earthworks. And then on the bottom, later you can look at these, there is a labyrinth that is in the head of Snoopy. It's at the home of Charles Schulz in California. So really cool kinds of labyrinths. Now, you might say, why walk a labyrinth? So again, simplicity, it's the opportunity also to connect with nature. We all know just intuitively that connecting with nature is a wonderful thing. But there are also, of course, are many different groups that do research on this topic. Nature Sacred itself has done some research on the topic of labyrinths and being outside in nature. And some of their research shows that even spending 10 minutes several times a week outdoors, even in a little urban park, even in your backyard, can really lead to less stress and to, you know, just being more happy about life. So what a wonderful thing to think about in terms of walking a labyrinth. Now this labyrinth has a really, that we're standing at right now, has a really interesting history. Of course, we're part of the Georgetown Waterfront, and back in the second and third quarters of the 18th century and then onward, this would have been a tobacco port, amazingly. Then it had a lot of other industrial uses over time. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, first decades of the 20th century, you see this area with a cement plant, a flour mill, all kinds of different uses as the waters around here became less commercially navigable. Finally, through the really great work of the Friends of Georgetown Park, this whole park was created in the 1990s and afterward. And then finally, in 2008, this wonderful labyrinth was added. It's just a beautiful addition to the park. This park is partly in partnership with the National Park Service, the Friends of Georgetown Park, and with the help of Nature Sacred as well. How to walk a labyrinth. And I'm going to give you some instructions about how to walk a labyrinth, and then I'm going to give you all the opportunity to walk the labyrinth, then the journey in. Again, walking the labyrinth is so simple. You begin at the mouth of the labyrinth and you just walk at whatever whatever pace suits you. Some folks are fast walkers, some walk really slowly when they walk the labyrinth. Either is fine. It's fine to pass somebody as you walk the labyrinth. It's fine to be in the back, whatever suits you as you think and ponder whatever topic you're thinking about, or just enjoying nature. Even though it's a chilly afternoon, it's really beautiful. We hear all kinds of sounds and smells, and it's just lovely to be out here today. And you can enjoy that as you walk the labyrinth. Then when you get at the center of the labyrinth, that is akin to like the center of your being or the center of your soul, however you like to think about it. And that is where you just kind of stand and really do some more thinking, some more meditating. Some folks just remain at the center for a few moments. They're eager to sort of make their way back out again. Others really are wanting to stay there for a while, and it really suits you. Whatever suits you is fine. A labyrinth is both an intimate and a community experience. It's yourself walking the labyrinth, but then you're also in community with fellow walkers, and you're in community when you leave the labyrinth, because maybe you've come to some decision about how you're going to better serve the community as you leave that labyrinth. And then when you leave the circle, you can do one of two things. You can walk back just the way you came, again, really pondering, meditating, getting ready to reconnect with the rest of the world, or you can just walk across the labyrinth and get going and get on the rest of your day. Today, as I'm going to encourage you, after you walk the labyrinth, we're going to come back and talk just for a few minutes about the labyrinth experience. I really encourage folks after they walk the labyrinth to also spend some time journaling. I don't think we're going to do that today, but maybe when you get back to your homes, you can try that. Think more about the experience of the labyrinth and whatever you thought about. Yes, I'm going to ask my walkers to come back, come and gather around me here. I'm just eager to find out, now that most of you have done the walk, if you could just maybe share one word, what the experience was like, any observation.
I liked moving from one quadrant to the other. It felt like some kind of sense of passage.
Yes, great point about the sense of passage from moving from one quadrant to the other. Any other comments on walking the labyrinth? Yes, very much so. A sense of peace, a sense of calm. Thank you, Barbara. A sense of quiet. Yep, yep.
When you start, you feel like you almost get to the center, and then you realize that's not the end of the journey.
Yes, yes, yes. And isn't that like life, right? Right, exactly. That journey, you're not quite at the end. And I know when students walk the labyrinth, at my labyrinth, they always comment about how long that labyrinth is, how long it takes. And I certainly got a sense of that watching all of you. But I love that comment because it really relates to life itself, right? So beautiful. Well, I hope you all will go back and maybe do a little journaling tonight or tomorrow about the labyrinth experience. But I'm going to end with this beautiful quote that actually comes from a journal that someone wrote in at our garden labyrinth, and it says, ooh, a little breezy here. It's good to know that others come searching for their own internal answers in this external place. And you certainly can see that here as well. The answers do come from inside, but I don't think you can seek them out, but rather you must be open to them. You must put yourself in places, spacious places, where you feel the spacious inside you. In this space, like in this Georgetown Waterfront Park Labyrinth, you receive answers eventually, but not maybe when you want them. Maybe not this moment, but sometime soon. So thank you all for being here today and enjoying the labyrinth on this beautiful December afternoon. I hope you return to this really special place. I think folks that really get to enjoy the labyrinth and really get to get its mystery are those who walk the labyrinth regularly. Not just once, but maybe once a month or once a week, because then it really becomes a sort of a spiritual experience of walking the labyrinth, and something that you really really get a lot out of over time. So again, thank you and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you.
Hi Meg, can you tell us about your experience walking the labyrinth today?
Yeah, Sherry Ann, thank you. It was so wonderful to be here, although cold. But my first reaction was literally, I feel like something shrugged off my shoulders as I started to walk on the journey. And the other thing I mentioned I really liked is once we were moving from one quadrant to the next, it felt like you were making some kind of passage, and then you get tighter and tighter into the center. You arrive and then start again. So it was a great experience, and I loved Denise's recommendation that you can think about doing this on a regular basis.
Barbara Downs, and I have walked the labyrinth before, and I always enjoy the experience because it slows you way down, it slows your mind down when you realize how far you have to go. And also to enjoy the journey and to feel the sense of peace and to feel the patience that you need to experience to understand that.
I'm Sherry Ann Green, and what I noticed walking the labyrinth is when you start, you come very close to the center, but then you realize that you haven't finished the journey. It's really just the beginning. So you see the goal, but it does take time to get all the way through the labyrinth. And that's a nice way to sort of pace life as well, as you know the goal, but the journey still remains to get to that.